Okay, hi everyone, welcome back, and in this update we are going to check out Algorand's price chart, but before that we are going to talk about this interview with Stacy Warden, the CEO of Algorand, which in it she talked about some very important points about stablecoins. So let's just dive in and see what is going on. And at the beginning she said it's not just stablecoins, it is about stablecoins on crypto rails. Now this is, in my view, a very important point because most stablecoins today still rely on centralized infrastructure, or maybe they are barely used beyond trading. But when you drop stablecoins onto a chain, for example, like Algorand, now you are talking about a completely different beast. And why is that? There are a couple of reasons. Number one is programmable payments. And this, in my view, is one of the coolest use cases Stacy mentioned. And for example, I think she said we can have a situation where we can say if X happens, then release the payment. This is like a smart contract on steroids. Imagine you are shipping goods across the ocean, for example. The container arrives, gets scanned and GPS verified, and boom, the smart contract releases the payment. No bank, no third-party escrow, no delay. And on Algorand, this executes, you're not going to believe it, under just simply 5 seconds with pennies in fees. That is a game changer for trade finance and also global logistics and supply chain automation. Also, Algorand has something called instant settlement, and this is very powerful. When you make a payment with a stablecoin, it is instantly yours. That's finality, not pending, not in transit, not clearing in 2 or 3 days like the banking system. We are talking real time, no middleman money transfer. And yep, Algorand's layer 1 handles that completely natively. And that is perfect for B2B transfers, cross-border payments, and also microtransactions. No Swift, no Ash, you can just send the money and you are done. Also, another very important point about stablecoins is the real-time lending and liquidity. Here is where things get kind of spicy. Imagine taking out a microloan and paying it back in literally minutes. Traditional banks cannot simply touch that. The infrastructure just doesn't support this situation. But Algorand's low latency programmable logic absolutely supports this process. This can open up instant lending markets, flash liquidity for businesses, and also fractional interest payments, which is great. And some people are calling this the DeFi 2.0, and it is happening faster than a lot of investors currently think. Now, here is another very important point about the stablecoins and also Algorand at the same time. Stacy points out something very important. You tokenize real world assets, like for example a house or fund, and stablecoins become the other side of the trade. Why is that? Because you simply cannot realistically buy a piece of real estate with something that fluctuates 10% overnight, like for example Ethereum or maybe even Bitcoin. You need a stable, efficient medium of exchange. And that is where stablecoins, maybe on Algorand, can come in clutch. Imagine a world where you own 0.01% of a rental building, get paid rent in stablecoins weekly, and you are able to sell your share instantly with on-chain liquidity. And it all runs very cheap, very fast, and also with full transparency. That is the foundation for the next financial system, and Algorand's architecture is, in my view, basically tailor-made for it. And you might ask, well, okay, why is it that Algorand may have the edge when it comes to stablecoins? You see, you need to zoom out on why Algorand might just be the ideal platform for all this. Number one reason, in my opinion, comes down to the take fit. Sub-penny transaction costs, finality in under 5 seconds, and high throughput without congestion. On Algorand, you are absolutely able to run logic-heavy contracts and microtransactions at scale, something even Ethereum L2s struggled with currently. And you also need to think about institutional infrastructure, because Stacy's examples in this interview are not actually meme tokens. No, they are regulated finance. For example, she mentioned money market funds, fractional real estate, and also compliant DeFi. That is the real audience here: banks, governments, institutions. And Algorand is quietly positioning itself as a back end for this very much promising future. Now, Here is the last part. With mobile-friendly stablecoin apps built on Algorand, anybody with a phone can store value, send or maybe receive money, buy fractional assets, and invest globally. This is not a theory. This is already happening in Latin America, Africa, and also parts of Asia. So as a conclusion, stablecoins are not just yet another crypto use case story. Absolutely not. What Stacy is describing is a new financial operating system where smart contracts move money, not bankers. Assets are able to live natively on chain. Stablecoins are the default of medium exchange in this situation, and Algorand is able to handle the rails behind the scenes. And it's very, very good to see. While a lot of people currently are talking and chasing meme coins, Algorand is quietly trying to be involved more and more in a stablecoin area. So overall, when you connect all the dots, I think we can absolutely argue that Algorand does actually have a good chance of being quite successful when it comes to stablecoins. And do they have enough activity in that area at the moment? I would be the first one to say absolutely not. They need to be active, and sure, they do actually have, I think it was EURD, which is, I think, a regulated euro stablecoin, and that's good. But I think there's absolutely room for more and more activity in a stablecoin area. We talked about this subject a couple of months back. We said 2025 is going to be the year of blockchain, and if you want to be more specific, it could be the year of stablecoins. Also, it seems like that Algorand is sort of kind of trying to be more active on AI area, and they are trying to create a narrative. So, you know, that can be yet another area where they are able to excel at. So overall, I think Algorand does actually have a very much bright future. And also in terms of technical analysis, I think we have the picture perfect structure for a massive bull run for the mid to long term, meaning let's say the next 6 months to about a year. But what is happening in like very short term? Let's go on ALGO's chart. Okay, so if you remember the last time that we talked about this chart, I think we were right in here, and the idea was that this is a consolidation pattern and soon we can have yet another move on the upside, and we did get our move, but immediately after it we got a relatively strong move down. Now I still believe that in Algorand we are looking very much bullish, and here is why. I'm thinking there is actually a very solid argument to be made for this thing being a wave 1 correction for 2, a strong move into wave 3 correction for 4, and yet another move up to about this point into wave 5. And I think from the lowest slowdown here, about 15 cents, we are having 5 up into 1 correction for wave 2, maybe in form of an ABC flat structure. This strong 5 wave up is going to be now into a wave 3, followed by a correction for 4, and this can be another move into wave 5. Basically, if you want to go according to this scenario in Algo, we have completed the subwaves for an impulsive structure. And what does it mean? It means even if you want to argue that the final low is N, and I am actually trying to argue that right now it might be time for a relatively deep move on the downside. Why is that? Because simply this is just part of the bullish process in order for us to, on a higher degree, have a beautiful bull run setup. And this can be a wave 1 correction for wave 2, and what's next if this scenario is happening? You know the answer. Unbelievably huge move on the upside into wave 3 and 4 and 5. Now, can we have another possibility for like very short term? The answer is yes, and we need to talk about extension scenarios. You see, according to the concept of extension, between our wave 1, 3, and 5, one wave could potentially get extremely extended, and in the crypto market, sometimes we are seeing extensions happening into wave 5s. Now, if this is going to be one of those examples, then okay, sure, this is going to be a 5 wave up, but now we're going to say it's into a wave 1 correction for wave 2, and what's next? Big move up into wave 3, 4, 5, and sure, after it, I guess we can have a move on the downside. Ideally, I would really like to see this possibility happen. Why? Because if we do this, this means that we have successfully gotten a break of this very important cluster of resistance areas, which is from daily and weekly time frame at the same time. and any kind of move down is going to be, from my POV, interpreted as just a retest of this unbelievably important level, meaning what's next? You know what? Another major move on the upside in Algorand. Now, here's a question. How can we say whether this or maybe the previous possibility indicating from the current point we're going to get a move down is in play? I think you can actually get help from indicators. Let's go on weekly time frame first. Zoom in more, excuse me. There we go. So what do we have? In a stock RSI, this is a buy signal, and in MACD, recently, about 2 weeks ago, we got also a buy signal. So this is actually a great sign, indicating number one, the final low is in, and number two, the trend has changed, and probably exciting times are very much ahead of us. Now, what is going on daily chart? Okay, we are having a sell signal in a stock RSI, and this happens somewhere around the overbought region, so it does actually have quite a bit of validity. However, pay attention to this. In MACD, we are still having this buy signal, so we do have kind of an ambiguous situation on daily time frame, but I think you can actually get help from indicators in H4 time frame to have an understanding of what is exactly happening. So let's just go around here. As you can see, on the live chart in H4, this is a high, the other one is a higher high. However, in MACD, what do we have? This is a high, the other one is a lower high. So this is basically a beautiful looking bearish divergence, which by itself is a negative sign, indicating in algo soon we can expect a move on the downside. So again, if we get a move down, it's not going to be a surprising thing at all. Also, let's just go on H1 time frame. Sorry about that one. There we go, because I think in here you can identify the divergence much more beautifully, and here is the line for it. Now, here's a very important point. If you want to say that the extension scenario in algo is happening, then okay, what you need to see is a move up ASAP in order to get a break of the divergence line, because at that point, we're going to say, number one, the divergence is invalidated, and number two, as a result of it, we are going to have a rather sharp move up. So again, in the short term, I do think that all eyes should be on this very important divergence line, and as long as we are not breaking it, I think we should expect a move on the downside. But again, overall, you want to remember, any kind of move down most likely is just going to be a correction structure, and it's just going to be a phase where we are going to gather the power for the next huge move on the upside. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in Algorand. Anyway, if you found any value in my content, I would really appreciate if you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel and follow me on Twitter. And if you want more, maybe you want a complete analysis for your own specific crypto, or maybe you want to learn some decent TA in order to be able to make good money in the markets, you can become a member and ask me anything you want. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time with your family and loved ones. Goodbye.